The world gets crazy sometimes. It's crazy all the time. And fellas, sometimes we just need to get away. And down south, we go hunting and fishing to get away. This is the Backroads Podcast. Hunting and fishing in the South. The perfect combo. We talk tactics, techniques. We give out fishing reports from various lakes. And we have on some of the most knowledgeable guests in fishing and hunting. When you just need to get away, in Bama, we get the heck outside. Let's do this. Welcome to the Backroads Podcast. Now, here's your host, Chris Hobbs.
All right. Well, we're back. Once again, I got my buddy Lee Pitts with me, professional angler and fishing guide. Lee, how long you been professionally angling?
Oh my Lord! I think all my life. I guess I can't even remember back when. I've worked at different places, but it's been a long time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's one thing about our podcast is we're trying to bring to everybody is your years of experience. Now, I've fished, but a lot of my time growing up was spent fishing an 11-acre lake, at our family property, and then getting on the Coosa. But I fished local tournaments and been in some local clubs to fish, but never on the level you have. And that's one great thing about you being on this show with us is your level of expertise that you bring, that you're out there doing it every day. So
well, yeah, I don't know about that. I appreciate the accolades there, but I just know from experience, kind of at certain times what works, what doesn't, and I've been doing it a long time. You
have been, but I always appreciate you being on. And I appreciate what you bring to the show. This week, what I'd like to talk about a little bit is, we've gotten some questions on this, and it's all based on various, Coosa River chain lakes. Some questions are about Lay, some are about Neely, some are about Weiss. And I got to thinking, what if we did kind of if you were going to put together a tackle box, and okay, the items in this tackle box would work well on any of these lakes, without giving away too much of your secret weapons, because like we've talked about many times before, you're still in the heat of battle there on a lot of Saturdays. What would you put in your tackle box to fish any of these lakes at any given time? And let's start with crankbaits. What's your go-to for any of these lakes when it comes to crankbaits?
Well, with my crankbait box, and all of this depends on what time of year you are. Okay, so it's not like I've got a box of crankbaits that I love, and that's what I'm going to throw all year, because it's not. Right. You got your early season in the Coosa, and I think this goes through all of the Coosa River chains, Weiss, Neely, Logan, Martin, Lay, a square bill. When you start out in the springtime and everybody's just trying to kick it off, that square bill is the go-to deal. Now, color situation depends on water situation. So what you're looking for in your colors is to try to match something that is what they're foraging on at that time. So you're at Weiss Lake, Neely, Henry, you got a little square bill, you want it to look like a minnow or a shad or something like that time of year. So shad pattern is a good pattern I'd have, in a square bill that starts us off.
All right. What about when it gets in the heat of the summer? Now, I know on Weiss, it's a kind of a different animal because of the shallowness and the depth of the lake. But to cover all our bases on the Coosa, what are we looking at as far as more deep runners in the heat of the summer?
You know what you're looking for in the summertime, and once again, this is my preference. This is my bait of choice. When these fish back out and get on these ledges, they get out there deep. It's the heat of summer. I like that Bill Norman, the DD22. I like it. I like the little end, the deep little end, things like that. If I'm fishing that 6 to 8 foot range, but I like those big plugs. I like the deep divers, something you can get down there and get on these ledges where you're sitting in 20, 25 feet of water, but you're throwing up on 10, 12. You can walk it down. I like something like that you can keep a good contact with it. You can feel the bottom. You feel the stumps. You know when it rises above the stumps. That's something that time of year, them big, deep plugs is what you're looking for.
All right. Let's move on to soft plastics. And you can go through fall, heat of summer, spring. You don't have to go too in depth on color because that's really going to be water clarity and those factors. So we don't have a couple hours to do this, but just kind of touch base on what soft plastics you got.
I apologize. I'm outside and I had a plane just come over me, so that was what that racket was.
Oh, no problem.
But all right. So what we're looking at on soft plastics, and this is all over the Coosa. Man, Gene LaRue, when these fish get out deep and they move out some, and I can follow them as they're coming from the secondary points and coming back out the main lake. Gene LaRue has a biffle bug. And I mean, this is a little creature bait, good looking bait, got a little bit of leg action to it. And it's just got a good profile and a good base to it that these fish really react to it on the Coosa. Put it on a wobble head. I'm dragging this thing out there in deep water. I'm hitting these shell beds. I'm hitting the breaks and the drop-offs. I'm hitting some of the hard bottoms. It's something that you can really, really throw out deep and catch fish deep, but also you can flip it and you can get up there if you're a flipper and you want to stay shallow, you want to stay up in that wood cover in 3-4 feet, you can flip this bait. And it is really, really a productive bait on the coast.
And do you, then that leads us into jigs. And I know it's one of your favorite baits that I've seen you throw. I mean, I might be incorrect. I'm not in the boat with you all the time, but.
No, I like that jig.
Yeah, I thought you did.
About every day.
I thought you did. When we fished, you have really power fished that jig. What, let our listeners know what how you go about picking a jig.
Once again, man, a lot of you don't realize, but it's as the seasons change, the forage changes. You're going from threadfin gizzard shad to all of a sudden then they're fishing on eating brim when they get up there shallow. But it's all the forage. I like a 3/4, 3/8, something like that. I can mix it up if I've got a lot of structure that I'm beating it around, or if I got a lot of grass, I'm beating it around. I've got a jig that I love, especially through the summer. Talon Jigs makes it, Leadhead Lures out of Milam, Texas. It's called Big Mama Brim. And Big Mama Brim will catch them this time of year into June, because a lot of these bass, they're up in these shallows, they're chasing these brim. And it's something that I'll tip this with some kind of creature bait on the back, give it a little kicking action. But you can get in the shallows and in the flats and really pump this bait, get it flipping and flopping. And, man, they think it's a brim, and they will choke it.
Well, what about that leads me into the top water. But I know you're a frog man.
Yep.
What else is in Lee Pitt's tackle box?
Do you have anything besides a frog?
I guess not in yours.
that is my bait of choice. when I am around grass, wood cover, things like that, early summer. But then you can kind of put it away here. It's you're looking at more of your poppars, prop baits, buzz baits, and I will say this too: buzz bait, early May, June is really, really good. I mean, you can catch fish on a buzz bait across the top of this grass. It's great. But I tell you what, my bait of choice, and this is old school, and when I say this, most of our listeners will not know what I'm talking about. A chug bug.
Oh,
I love
that is
rattling
old
chug
school.
bug. It's a storm product. And it really, really, on the Coosa, up against seawalls, over stump flats or whatever, that chug bug will do it.
Man, that is an old timey bait. I remember throwing that. Being a little kid, that was probably the first topwater bait I ever threw. Was that chug bug?
Yep. I mean, it's old school. I mean, it is old school, but you can still get them, and they still work.
Do you remember that bait that, God, this guy used to be a game show host, Chuck Woolery? You remember that bait? He came out, and you when you threw it, a string pulled out of the mouth of the bait, and then when it landed, it kind of went back to the.
Yeah.
Do you remember that bait?
I remember that. It had a little yo-yo type deal in it.
Yeah. Did you ever catch a fish on that?
I don't think I ever had one.
Oh man, I had one.
Was it good?
Well, no. Look, I told when I was fishing this one afternoon with my brother-in-law, and he said, "What is that?" And I told him what it was, and he said, "You'll never catch a fish on that." And I said, "If I catch a fish on this today, you're buying lunch." And he said, "All right, that's a bet." So when we got done, we went to Red Lobster because he was buying. I actually did. Wow. I've caught one fish on that bait my entire life.
God. Yeah, I remember what you're talking about. I can remember it.
That was a cool bait, but concept was good, but the reality of the fishing with it was another story. But anyway, I put it right back. It's still in my tackle box. It's buried back in there somewhere.
It's not on starting row.
Yeah. Now sometimes I'll move stuff around and I accidentally pull that thing, and you can hear it in the back of the tackle box going.
Around my house, that's a worry. If you hear something shaking and rattling, you better be watching your step.
Well, you got dogs for that, man.
Yeah, they turn a deaf ear to that kind of stuff.
Oh, they turn and go the other way. Smart.
I've got these. Let me tell you something. I've got these geese every day. I get up and I have my coffee before I hit the lake, and I'm seeing these geese come up here. They got the little ones with them, and I'm trying to run them off because I want to pick up goose poop all weekend. So anyway, my dog and my wife's dog, man, they chase these squirrels. They hate these squirrels. They'll run them up the trees. And I mean, they really show out and want to be proud of how good they guard the property. But if I point to the geese and say, run them off, they'll look the other way. What? What'd you say? What? What's going on? What's happening? They don't want nothing to do with those geese. They've already figured it out.
No, they'll bite the crap out of you.
Yeah, they will. And especially mine. He'll run out the door. Oh, you want me to get them? Well, hold on. I'll go find a squirrel over here.
There you go. Look, a goose with babies. Ooh, they'll hiss.
Really.
They're terrible. They will slat tear you up. My granddaughter, I took her out here on Neely Henry on one of the boardwalks, and there was a goose on it. Oh my God, I had to catch her because she was gonna go pet that goose, and that goose had some babies with it.
It would not have worked out like she thought.
No, because that goose was about as tall as she was. But anyway, well, anything else you can think of that is be beneficial for somebody to put in their tackle box for a day on the Coosa?
You know, it's hard to beat the old just put a 1/4 ounce weight and a 3/0 hook and have a little old 6-inch worm and go throwing around wood cover, grass beds, or whatever, you're gonna catch something. Boat docks, just that old straight worm.
Yeah, you can't beat those. That's been a mainstay for many, many years, back to the man worms. Well, all right, Lee. Let's move on to. I know he's on the water yesterday, and I know he's on the water this morning. Let's get a good fishing report. What water were you on today?
Today I was at Weiss, and Weiss has got a little bit of stain to it. We had some high winds and everything yesterday, but the fishing is still good. I mean, we caught a lot of fish. I had 2 young men with me this morning, and the fishing was good. We threw a frog, threw a buzzbait, threw a little bit of a spinnerbait where you could in that grass, and then we backed out, threw a DT6, a little bitty crankbaits, little small worms, and still caught them out there, backed off.
Where'd you fish yesterday? Weiss as well?
I was at Neely yesterday.
How's the fishing on Neely?
Neely was good. Once again, we had more of a spinnerbait bite and a buzzbait bite at Neely yesterday, so it was really, really good. Had a little small wind blowing in the morning, just kind of moving some water, and I think that helped the bite a little bit.
Oh, I bet it does. That's a great time for spinnerbait bite. Were y'all fishing around any grass or anything, or?
A little bit. It seemed to be at Neely. We caught some fish in the grass, and then went back to some of the wood cover on it too, flipping little creature baits, a D-bomb, something like that, and it was good there. We picked up some more fish.
Well, Neely's got. If it's got anything, it's got wood cover. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's slap full of wood.
But key is to find the wood that holds the fish. You do that, and that's half the battle right there.
That's it. You got it, man. That's half the battle.
Well, I got a question I want to ask you on something I saw on TV the other day during the fishing news portion of Bassmaster television, and Keith Poche, is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
Okay. I was disqualified on Toledo Bend, and I know if you follow fishing pretty heavily like I do, you probably already know about this, but I really just want your opinion. Took his boat and jumped an embankment, and went into another body of water that wasn't technically connected to the body of water he left. What do you think about that? Because Toledo Bend made this little area for guys to do that with their boats. So
I've heard about this. I've not seen it. I don't know. It's one of those things that, I would like to say, and this is the redneck coming at me, I'd like to say, well, if you got the guts to go in there and run up on something and jump into it, hey, more power to you. But I don't know if it was a area that was already, off limits. I don't know. So I would love to say, I like it. Hey, man, get a run and go and get in there and get it done. But I don't know I don't know the ruling on that.
Well, I don't think Bass had designated that, hey, don't do that in this area right here to jump in, because I think it's a pretty good sized little body of water right adjacent to the main body of water at Toledo Bend. You just can't. Right. It's not accessible by water, and I think it's like a 25-foot. There's a little dirt road over it. It's about 25 or 30 feet, maybe less. It's hard to tell on TV. That you kind of cross over, and you got to get a running start at it. And you just slide across into the next body of water. I don't think there was a technical ruling on that, but I'm with you. If you can get in there and you want to risk
and like I said, I don't know the ruling on that, and I'm just saying from, me personally, if I saw something and I didn't think I was breaking any rules, didn't think I was, doing anything wrong, I would get a run and go and jump in there and see what we can do.
Yeah, I think based on what I read, he caught some pretty good fish in there.
Wow.
I don't know where he was sitting as far as the leaderboard's concerned, but I think he lost some pretty good fish in there. I think he was at that point in contention.
Wow.
But you know,
Yeah,
I know
and that's so hard because when you're a competitor and you see something and you're seeing, hey, there's an opportunity, a little pocket I hadn't seen. Man, hey, I'm going in. You know, because how do you know that other competitors hadn't been in there too?
right, or one's not already in there.
I don't know.
Right, I got you. But I just, you know, you're out there every day, and you've competed your entire life. I didn't know if you thought maybe that's, you know, that Bass did the right thing, based on their interpretation of the rules. Of course, you know, Keith had a different interpretation.
Right.
And I don't think Keith was wrong. I really don't. Nothing said.
Yeah, and that's something that a lot of people I've talked to, they're saying that they don't either, but it's one of those things, it was a fine line, and but you know what I mean? When it's both sides and it's that close, BASS has the word on that, and that, you know, I mean, you just got to go with, hey, that's just how you got to roll with it.
Yep. You just load up and drive to the next lake. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
But I do like that pushing the envelope. I do like that. Hey, I'm going to get after it.
Yeah.
I do like that part of it.
And as you know, sometimes that costs you. So, I mean,
you're right.
That's why there's a, you know, there's a fine line between, I'm not saying a fine line between the rules, but if, you know, if you don't know, and okay, there's an area to fish, and the rules are this, and that, but it's not breaking out. I mean, who knows?
You're right. Now, you know, I used to take that same philosophy when I went into Brothers Bar in Jacksonville, Alabama. You know, I'm just going to get after it and see what happens. I was disqualified a lot.
Well, I knew the rules there.
Yeah, but you know, they didn't mind throwing me out, but they, you know, if they grabbed hold of you, that was going to be a little tussle.
Well, I don't know about that.
All right.
That's been a long time ago. They could wheel me out now.
Yeah. You know, it's funny how, you know, you run into or you talk to people that you didn't know in that little community. You know, what do we have, 8,000 students? Something like that.
I never even did my math lessons, much less make that count.
But I talked to, you know, we played the new intro for this show. We tried to be a little bit more professional. I got that feedback from some reliable sources that are close to me that we need to be the intro needed to be better. And I said, okay, well, we'll up our game there. So I contacted this guy in Texas.
Oh, wow.
And we got to bantering back and forth, and he's actually went to school at Jacksonville State.
Oh,
and,
Jesus.
Yeah. And he knew Lee Pitt. No, I'm just kidding. He didn't. He knew all about Lee Pitts, I'm telling you. But that's just weird, you know, that, you know, a Gamecock guy over there, you know, I mean, I could have called 1,000 different guys. And I just happened to get a hold of him. So that worked out cool. I hope you liked his intro. I liked it pretty good. If you did like it, you know, give us a little feedback. If you don't like it, you know, and hear that too. But you can holler at us at the backroadsinfo@gmail.com. And we're getting some pretty good feedback and some questions, and you know, a few folks that don't like what we're doing, but we're not going to make everybody happy. But that leads us into the bait of the week. So we're still dock shooting, right?
Yeah. Still on the Coosa, catching some fish on these docks, and that's my favorite time to do it. Dock shooting now and then in the fall too, but man, we're catching pretty good fish.
All right. Well, what's our Bobby Garland color of the week?
Man, I know this sounds crazy. We got a new bait out right now. It's called Mayfly. Mayfly has got some appendages on it. It really, really flies. It floats good in the water when you're shooting it. It skips well. But the color also right now is Mayfly. So it's a double Mayfly. Mayfly bait, Mayfly color.
Oh, that's cool. And y'all are catching some good ones?
Yeah, catch some good fish. You got to work for it. I mean, they're not just going to give up. You got to work for them. We're catching them on these docks, and the dock shooting's good. Still right now, it hadn't got the heat of summer, so we're doing good right now.
Well, that's good. Well, what's on the agenda for you coming up?
I've got a couple events I've got to be at, and then I will slow down in the summertime a little bit, so it won't be quite as busy.
So you and I are going to go fishing?
Yes, we will make sure we do that.
Now, one thing we're going to do too is we're going to GoPro it, and we'll be out there filming a little bit. What we're going to do, we're not going to film a whole show. There's a million shows out there, but what we're going to do is if we're, and of course that's all depending on, weather, water clarity, how many turbines. I mean, there's a lot of factors on the Coosa that determine what you do. So depending on what we're doing at, whatever the Coosa presents itself to do, is we're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing in little short clips we're going to call Backroad Shortcuts. And that way, people can actually see us doing some of these things that you're talking about every week. Just add a little extra information to what we're trying to bring to everybody on fishing. We'll try to do the same thing when it gets to be hunting season. Rodney Turner will be with us a little more then, because he's probably one of the better hunters I've run across other than you, Lee Pitts. He don't have, he don't hang them up like you do, but he is very good, very good. But so we got that to look forward to. And Lee, man, once again, I appreciate your time. I know we didn't have a long show today, but I think it was really informative.
Well, man, I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me be a part of it, and I'm glad to be here with you.
Sounds good. Well, all right, buddy. Well, we'll holler at you next week and see how the fishing's going.
All right, man. Look forward to it.
Thanks, Lee. And guys, thanks again for always thank you for listening. We appreciate you taking the time out to listen to us, and I hope we're able to bring some good, informative fishing information to the table. Y'all, as always, contact us if you got a question. We're getting a few in, a few comments. It's, like I said earlier, it's the backroadsinfo@gmail.com, and look forward to getting on the water with Lee and getting some of this filming done so we can bring that aspect of it to you as well. Thanks again, everybody, and we'll see y'all next week.